Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here today another ink comparison video, and this is a green inks comparison. And this is the first of a number of green ink comparison videos. So I think let's take a look at some of these inks. The first ink is going to be Rohrer and Klingner, and this is Alt Goldrün. Now, the reason why I got this ink was that I wanted a goldish greeny, almost like a sepia style ink, and I'd seen this on Reddit and I really liked the look of this ink, so I had to pick up a few bottles of it. So let's do an ink swatch here. And this really is quite a nice coloured ink. Do a bit of a second pass here. So this is, I'm actually going to abbreviate it just to R and K. So it's R and K, Rohrer and Klingner, and it's Alt Goldrün. But this is actually quite a nice greeny gold ink. The next ink is Akkerman. This is number 25 and it's Denneweg Groen. So we'll do an ink swatch here. So this is almost like a bluey green ink, and when I bought this I thought, yeah, let's give this a try, like you do with inks, and it's an ink that I have used a fair bit, but it's not one of my favourite green inks. So this is Akkerman, and it is Denneweg Groen. And there's actually nothing wrong with the colour of the ink. I just prefer a more greener ink than a bluey green ink. The next ink is Akkerman number 27 Bezuidenwoudgroen. Now, you'll see here, these bottles are actually quite nice because they have a marble in them. And you think initially, well, how am I going to get my nib in there? You don't need to. What you do is you tip them upside down, let the marble fall back down, and the marble traps a lot of the ink, and then you can put your nib in there. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is why I kind of prefer a green. Like, this is the original green that I had from Akkerman, and I really love. So for me, this was the kind of green that I was after more, but I thought I would try a different green and just see how it goes. But this is actually one of my most favourite green inks. So this is Akkerman. And it's Bezuidenwoudgroen. Now, that is all one word, Bezuidenwoudgroen, but I can't fit that on in one line there. Now, you might then think, how do I get that ink out of the top? All you need to do, you see here, you just tilt the bottle and then gradually the ink will drain out. There you go. But if you do it like this and do it quickly, the ink doesn't drain out whatsoever. It's only when you put it down at an angle, and really it's a 45-degree angle, at that point then the ink drains out of that top reservoir. So I really do love these Akkerman bottles. Now, the next one, and this is a much larger bottle, again it's another Akkerman ink, and this is Akkerman Dutch Masters Van Huysum's Sap Groen. Now I say it's much larger because let me show you in comparison with the smaller bottle. So the smaller bottle is the regular range, and that's a 60 milliliter bottle. This larger one, the Dutch Masters, is 120 milliliters. So it's a much larger bottle. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is what I would call a grassy green. It's a really lovely green. And it has quite a lot of shading on it as well. So this is Akkerman. I'm going to abbreviate it to Dutch Masters, and it's Van Huysum's Sap Groen. But this, for me, is a really lovely green ink. So these are actually two of my favourite green inks so far. The next green is going to be a Caran ink, and I only have a couple of Caran inks, but this is a Chromatics Incredible Colours, or Ink-Readable Colours, and this is the vibrant green. And you'll see here, this is the bottle. So the bottle itself is actually shaped at an angle. So it actually helps you be able to fill your nib a little bit easier. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, I always thought vibrant green was going to be a little bit more green, or a little bit more vibrant, I should say. It's a nice green, but I wouldn't say... I think for a vibrant green, I would think it as being a more brighter green, more lighter green. So this is Caran, and it's vibrant green. And you can see why, because when you actually do the writing sample here, it really doesn't look vibrant at all. It just looks like a dark green. The next ink is Diamine Meadow. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is, again, what I would call maybe another grassy green. Do a second pass here. Give it a little bit more of a saturation going on there. And this is Diamine Meadow. And that is another, what I would call a vibrant green, and not what the Caran vibrant green really is. The next ink is Lamy Green, and you have these little sort of touch papers, these little blotting papers that you can dab your or nib with just to remove any ink. So we'll do an ink swatch. You can see there that is, for me, sort of like a middle green. Like if I wanted a green ink, that is probably the ink that I would probably go for. So this is Lamy Green. The next ink is Diamine Apple Glory. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now if you want a bright green, now this is what I would call a vibrant green. This is more, a little bit like a grassy green, almost like a meadow actually, not, although this one is Diamine Meadow, this one is the Diamine Apple Glory. So I guess it does look a little bit like a green apple. So this is Diamine Apple Glory. But that is a nice green ink. And then the last ink is Pilot Iroshizuku Chiku-Rin. Now, strangely enough, this was an ink that I've avoided for some time. And then I think my taste changed in ink colours, or in green ink colours. So I decided to get this, and I am absolutely now loving this ink. So I think what a couple of years does to your colour taste in inks, and I guess it's like your taste in food as well, so that your taste does change over time. So this is Pilot, Iroshizuku, and it's Chiku-Rin. But that for me is actually quite a lovely green ink now that I like. So let's take a look at these inks a little bit more closely. So we have the Rohrer and Klingner Alt Goldrün, and this is more of a sort of, I'd say, a sepia green. So it's really supposed to be a golden green, but it's an ink that I like a lot, and it does have quite a bit of shading, as you can see here. The next ink is Akkerman Denneweg Groen, and this is more of a bluey green ink that you can see here. It does have a lot of shading though, just like, actually even more shading than Alt Goldrün. And then we have Akkerman Bezuidenwoudgroen, and that is actually one of my favourite green inks. It's more of a middle green, and it's just a green that I like a lot. And it does have a bit of shading, but not necessarily as much as Denneweg Groen. And then we have the next three greens. This is Akkerman Dutch Masters van Huysum's Sap Groen, and this is more of a grassy sort of green, meadow green, and this is a green that I love a lot. It does have a huge amount of shading, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. It's both a light green and it shades very well. And then we have Caran Vibrant Green. Now there is some shading going on there that you can see where that ink pulls but on the page, but it's not a vibrant green, at least not for me anyway. And then there's Diamine Meadow, which honestly is actually quite close. I would say maybe even identical to Akkerman's Dutch Masters van Huysum's Sap Groen. Now, Akkerman inks are made by Diamine, so that's probably why. But you can see there again, that has shading there as well. So for me, that is a lovely green ink. I think if I couldn't get Akkerman's Dutch Masters van Huysum's Sap Groen, I would actually substitute it with Diamine Meadow, because it's not actually that dissimilar. And in the last three inks, we have Lamy Green. And this is just sort of a midpoint green, very similar to maybe Caran Vibrant Green and also Lamy Green compared to Akkerman Bezuidenwoudgroen. So it's a midpoint green, I would say. It has a little bit of shading going on here, and you can see that here. So there is shading going on. Then there's Diamine Apple Glory, which is a very punchy, bright green. This is more of an apple green, maybe a little bit more towards like a Granny Smith's or a Golden Delicious apple. When you look at the colour of the skin there, it's a little bit more of a greeny, sort of more brighter green, I would say. And it does have some quite good shading properties going on there. And then the last ink is an ink that I've started to like a lot, and this is a sort of green ink, but it has a lot of yellow in it. And this is Pilot Iroshizuku Chiku-Rin, and this also has a lot of shading going on there that you can see, but this is actually quite a nice green ink. So I like to actually compare Chiku-Rin with Van Huysum's Sap Groen, because those two inks are actually very similar. So that's my first green inks comparison. If there are any inks here that you really like the look of, let me know in the comments below. Likewise, if there are any green inks that you have in your collection that you really love, let me know below in the comments, because I'm always on the lookout for some really great inks. So there are a lot of inks out there, a lot of green inks. So if there's any ink that you like the look of, then do let me know. That's my green inks comparison number 1 video. Thanks for watching, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.